Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you remember, in the last video we talked about generating a dynamic HTML table right inside the body of an email. And in today's session we are diving into something a lot of people have been asking for. This builds directly on something we have already done before. In a previous video, I walked through how to create a dynamic HTML table step by step. And today is the continuation of that, but we are taking it one level further by generating a PDF from it. So if you are wondering how the table itself was constructed, make sure you check out that earlier video because I'm not repeating all of that today, but only be giving a short recap. And just so you don't miss it, you should see a card banner popping up on the screen right now that links straight to that video. I will also leave the link down in the description for quick access. So what I'm going to do is to start with the exact same base code from the previous video. We are going to modify it just a bit by adding some styling. Because PDFs don't magically format themselves. We need to tell them exactly how to behave. So let's get into the code and I'll explain every single thing that's happening. Okay, so the first thing we do, as always, is start with abang local variables. This is just our container where we store all the temporary values we need. Inside this, I have defined local data, and yeah, this is the same dataset from before. Bob, John, Alice, Charlie, each with a name and age. Nothing complicated here. This represents any list of records you may have in your real application. Now here is where things start to change. Right after the data, I'm adding a style tag here inside the local bang header variable. And the reason we put styles inside local bang headers is super simple. The PDF engine is going to read this entire string as a single HTML document. So it needs the style tag before the table so the styling is applied properly. And inside it, I'm going to write HTML, body and need to set the width and height. I'm setting width to 210 mm and height to 297 mm. Okay, so let me explain why I'm doing this. You will also notice I'm targeting both HTML and body here. And you might be thinking, why am I setting the same width and height on two different tags? That's because the HTML tag is like the outer shell, the root of the entire document. And the body tag is like the container where all the content actually lives. If I set the size on only one of them, the other can still expand or shrink. If the HTML tag is bigger, the body might overflow. If the body tag is bigger, the content might push outside the page. So by setting both, I'm locking the layout from the very top all the way down. So it's basically me saying, hey PDF engine, no matter what happens, this is the exact size of the canvas. And because A4 pages are 210 mm by 297 mm, that's why I'm using these values. So now when we generate the PDF, the entire document respects these dimensions and our table sits exactly where it should. Alright, I hope that's clear now. Let me continue typing the rest of the styles. Next, I'm going to center the entire content inside the body because PDF pages look cleaner when the content is centered. Here, textline is a CSS property and center is the value. And together, they tell the browser to center align the text inside the body. And to control the table, I need to apply some styling to that as well. So here I'm setting the width to 60%, which means the table is not stretched all the way across a page. And adding a top margin ensures that the table does not sit directly under the title or the header. You know that subtle spacing really improves readability. I am now going to close the style tag and that's it. Our styling section is done. Now from this point onward, everything continues exactly the same as what we did in the previous video. So right after closing the style tag, we have the same table structure we used earlier. The table tag, the header row with name and age. We have defined local row opening and local row closing. These are simply strings that help us generate each row dynamically. Nothing fancy, just a clean way to avoid repeating HTML tags in the loop. Alright, let's keep going. And now comes the heart of it, the part where the table becomes dynamic. We use this for each loop, and what this does is, It loops through each item in local data, and for every record it creates one tr row, and inside that row it injects the name and age dynamically, and then we use join array, which merges all these rows into one large string so they appear one after another. And finally, we append local bank table closing to close the table tag. And that's it. Our entire HTML becomes one clean string that can be fed directly into a PDF generation smart service. Cool. So now that our HTML expression is ready, the next thing we do is to prepare an HTML template file. And for this part, I like to switch over to Notepad++. So let me quickly open up Notepad++, and there we go. The main purpose of this file is to hold what we call keys written inside triple hashes. So whenever you create a key, you need to open it with 3 hashes and close it with 3 hashes. This is important because the substitution grid will only detect keys that follow this exact pattern. 3 hashes at the start, the key name, and 3 hashes at the end. So basically these keys act like placeholders, and the cool thing is Appian's substitution grid automatically scans a file and finds every key written in this format and replaces it with whatever value we provide during the process execution. Alright, now that my template is ready, I'm going to save this and have named the file something like htmlfile.html. Perfect. Now the next step is to upload this into Appian as a document. So like always, I'm going to switch back to Appian Designer. I'll click on New, and from the list, I'm going to choose Document. So here I can see the upload window. I'll just browse and select the HTML file we created, and that's it. You can give it a meaningful name. And there is a little checkbox that is used to create constant of type document, and it is checked by default, but I do not need a constant for this, so I'm just going to uncheck this. Alright, now that our template is uploaded, the next thing we need to do is actually generate the PDF using a process model. So let's go ahead and create one. I'll click New, select process model, give it a name. I'll just call it generate PDF from HTML and hit create. So here we have got a blank canvas. The first smart service we need is the HTML doc from template. This is what takes the HTML template and replaces all those triple hash keys. So I'll drag it onto the canvas, and let's double click it and open its properties. Now heading straight into the setup tab. First things first, we need to select the document we uploaded earlier. So I'll click browse, choose the HTML file, and that's a template selected. Next is new document name. I'm going to type PDF from HTML. This will be the name of the generated HTML file that comes out of this step. Okay, below this we have to pick a folder where this file should be stored. Now I have a constant. It's a constant of type document folder that points to one of the folders inside this application. So I'll open the expression editor and simply call that. Now if you look at the section below, Appian has already scanned a template and found the key we defined, the one inside triple hashes. In my case, it shows something like table, right? So now I need to pass a value to this key, and the value is simply the entire HTML expression rule we built earlier. So I'll just reference that expression rule here. Now the smart service knows how to fill the template. Now we need to store whatever this node outputs, because the next node needs the generated HTML file. So I'll head to the data tab, go to outputs, and under result, I'm going to map the smart service output to a new process variable. I'll just click the plus icon and click OK, and now it's created and mapped. Then click OK again to close this node. So at this point, our first node generates an HTML document and stores it into pvbank new document. Now we need the next smart service, that is PDF from HTML. So I'll just search for it in the left hand palette. Just type PDF, and here it is. I'll drag it onto the canvas and drop it right after the first node. Double click or just right click to open its properties. Heading to the data tab now, and in the smart service we have a few important parameters. First parameter is HTML document. This is the document that the previous node created, the one we stored in the process variable. So I'll just set this to pvbang new document. Okay. Next is create new document. I'm going to set this to true because yes, I want this node to generate a new PDF. After that, we have new document name. I'll give it something like PDF from HTML, and then we have save in folder. So again, in the expression editor, I'll call my constant here. That's a folder where the final PDF will be stored. And those are the 4 mandatory parameters we need. I'll now hit OK, and the PDF from HTML Smart Service is now fully configured. Now it's time to actually test this and see if our process is working properly. I'm going to start debugging the process. Let me press Ctrl D, and that launches the process in debug mode. You can see here on the canvas, the process has already executed and it has reached the end node. So that means both smart services ran successfully with no issues. Now let's go and verify whether the documents were actually created in the folder. I'll open the folder we used earlier, and yep, here we go. Right at the top, I can see 2 documents. The second one is the HTML document. This is the one generated by our first smart service, HTML document from template. And the latest one is the PDF document, the one generated by the PDF from HTML smart service. So the workflow ran exactly the way we wanted. Let me go ahead and download the PDF. I'll just open it up, and there it is, the final PDF with a HTML table inside it. Everything looks clean, the formatting is intact, and the data is exactly what we passed in. So this wraps it up for today's video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment if you want me to cover anything specific in upcoming videos. And if you missed the previous video where we built the dynamic HTML table from scratch, don't forget, the link is in the description and you can also find it in the card that popped up earlier. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye-bye.